me. How you doing, Vera?
I'm fantastic. Yeah, I'm great. How are
I
you?
can't believe you're in New Zealand. It's so exciting.
I know. It's very exciting. It's a good place
How
to be
long have you
right
been in the
now.
country?
So what happened was I came back in March. Basically we were going to play South by and we had like a tour and everything
Yeah.
was going and it all got cancelled and I have a bit of a health condition, so I was thinking best to come home and yeah, I've just been here ever since.
Very cool, very cool.
Yeah.
So how does that work with you being here and the album coming out? And
Mm.
kind of weird, isn't it?
Very weird. Um, it doesn't. I mean, I haven't really had my moment to celebrate, but I think when I go to a record store and pick it up, that's going to be
There you
I'll have a
go.
little party in my brain.
And is it being released on vinyl?
Yeah, yeah.
Because I spoke to somebody
Vinyl.
at a record store the other day, and they were complaining how they're having a hard time just getting anything shipped from the States. So I don't know if that's where it's
That's
coming from.
that's what's going on. So that's why it hasn't. But I've been back to Slow Boat in Wellington.
Yeah,
I've been back there twice now, just being like, "Hey, is the record coming here?"
yeah. Well, I think we're going to get a big glut of records at one time eventually. It'll be wonderful,
Mm-hmm.
but until then, we're just going to have to put up with what we got.
Yep.
uh,
Yep. You might have
so
to
we,
start selling your records. You got
oh
a big
no.
stack
In
behind you
fact, I
there.
just had a friend of mine, the guy who I started collecting records with back in high school. He has
Mm.
more 40. I have 15,000 45s. He has 20, and he
Wow.
just texted me. He's in Florida now. He wants to know if I want them. So it's like, we'll see what happens
Wow.
there. But that's a lot
Wow.
of records.
To open a store at that point.
Exactly. Well, I can't
Yeah.
sell them though. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Goes against
Yeah.
everything I stand for. But
Feel
anyway,
you. Yeah.
so let's talk about. Well, so how are you working? Are you in contact with the rest of the members of the band?
Mm. Yeah. Well, basically, at the moment, me and Libby are just passing ideas back and forth via GarageBand.
Right.
Um, and it's been really a really fun, weird, modern way to write music. So we've kind of just been doing that, and we're all pretty bad at keeping in touch via technology. So it's
Right.
been pretty low key on that front.
I
Mm.
see. And have you done many Zoom interviews and stuff like that?
Yeah, we've done a fair few of those to the point where it's not weird anymore.
Exactly. In fact, this is my
Yeah,
main form of communication and interaction with pretty much anybody these days.
yeah,
What the
it's
heck?
very strange.
Take what we
I
can
was
get.
really when everything first happened, I was really resentful, like especially of live streams and all of that. I just was like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not having it. And I always take a while to kind of come around, but then eventually I'm like, okay, I understand.
Yep, yep. We got to deal
I
with
understand. Yeah.
it. So let's talk about the record, Androgynous Mary. It came
Mm.
out a couple of weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
21st, I
Cool.
think.
21st,
And
yeah.
we'll start with the name of the album, since that's as good a
Mm.
place as any. Where did that
Mm.
come from?
Initially, it was fairly trivial. I mean, I think we were searching for a name which would, help to embody the work. So it felt more cohesive. Because at that point we were still in the writing process, and we came across a mural in Echo Park, which I think it was a mural of Mary, Mother Mary, and she had a moustache or something, and someone made the comment, "Oh, androgynous Mary,"
There you go.
and we thought, oh, that feels very encompassing of a lot of the themes in the record. I think it deals a lot with religion and different concepts of holiness and also gender and
Right,
identity and all these things.
right.
So it was sort of the idea of like subverting the mother, but
Gotcha.
also there's many ways to interpret it.
Definitely. Yeah. I remember there was a band. I'm from Rochester, New York, which is upstate New York near Toronto. And when I
Yeah,
was living
been
there
there.
was a band called Immaculate Mary. But they were just like your
Oh,
basic beer drinking rock and roll guys. But speaking of
cool.
Rochester,
Mm.
I know that I have a feeling that Sonic Youth is something that you guys are kind of inspired by. And
Yeah.
I just realized that even though Rochester is like the least rock and roll city on the planet, um,
Hmm.
Kim Gordon, Wendy O. Williams, and Lydia Lunch are all from Rochester. So there's like
Yeah.
something in the water there. They all escaped, thank God, and made their mark, but
You know what? It's funny because we were touring and we stayed. I don't know if we played in Rochester, if we just stayed there. And we loved it. We had the best time. We went to this pizza joint and we just were like drinking wine and just like it was so beautiful, like all the nature, and
right.
we had a ball. We
Good.
really loved it. So I don't know what it was about that place, but we
They do
were
have good
into it.
pizza and good chicken wings there, so can't go wrong.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah. I think there's something about coming from, when you come from a place where there's not that much going on.
Yeah.
Like I grew up in Lower Hutt, in Nainai,
Right.
and represent. And I think a lot of my dreams and a lot of my aspirations and also ideas around wanting to be so drawn to music was wanting to escape or find something bigger than sort of the local dairy.
Exactly. Well, that's understandable. So for folks, when I was listening to the album, I mean, obviously there's kind of a punk inspiration kind of thing, but there's a lot of other stuff going on the record music-wise. So how would you describe it for people who are not necessarily familiar with the band and are kind of curious?
It's a bit of a shit show. I would say that we've always really struggled with that. And I don't think it's because it might not be because we're doing anything particularly new. I think it could just be because it's hard when you're in the midst of everything, the midst of the chaos, to kind of like step back and identify it. I've heard people describe elements of it as post-punk. I've also heard indie. I've also heard, I mean, like, I don't even know what genre is in 2020.
Yeah.
I would say listen to it, and if you don't like it, that's totally fine.
There you go. well, I liked it. I enjoyed it immensely. It was a lot of fun kind of keeping up with it. I noticed there seemed to be a lyrical theme of eating going on throughout some of the songs. I was wondering what that was all about.
I think we definitely are very visual writers.
Right.
So physicality, the notion of like eating and things like that is all very visceral.
Yeah.
I think also with the eating, it's like being consumed by something, which was a lot of the themes on the record. So.
Okay. And the first track on the album is called "This Is Not the Indie Rock I Signed Up For," which is kind of almost sounds like a major statement that you guys are trying to lay down before, just so we know where we're coming from. So what was the thought behind that?
That's another one that has sort of multiple meanings to it. So on the one hand, the initial meaning was that when we signed to Hardly Art, we put out this EP called Fashion Con Man.
Right.
And it's far more, or at least on reflection, we feel like it's far more in the vein of indie rock. And at the point we got signed, the guy who signed us, he hadn't seen us play before, and we were like, does he know we don't sound anything like this EP? Like, does he know what he's signed up for? So it was kind of the joke of like, we don't know how the label's going to respond to this album whatsoever. So we just kind of were like, this isn't the indie rock you signed up for.
Right.
And then on the other hand, I think it is again about the whole idea of subverting genre, and also about the notion of kind of like finally being able to, be a part of the music that you want to be a part of, and realizing that it's not as there's problems there. It's not what you signed up for.
Yeah. And there's a lot of good, hard, distorted guitar throughout the record. Are you playing most of that, or is that split up between you and who's the other? Sierra.
Yeah, we kind of go back and forth. We both love distortion, so
yeah.
So I think that's shared a fair bit. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, the one. What do we do it for? Has this kind of big long intro and then distorted guitar all over the place.
Yeah.
When you were recording, when you were in the studio, what was the process like? Were you all in the room together playing, or were you kind of laying down your parts separately? How did you work?
I mean, it's all really live. We made a really conscious effort to do that because, again, we felt with the last EP it was too clean and wasn't representative of what a live show would be.
Yeah.
And the feedback we always got was that people loved the energy of our live performance. So we wanted it to be messier and we wanted it to be natural. We didn't really particularly enjoy the process of just layering one by one and being separate. Like, we like to be together and create.
Yeah.
Create energy based on that. So I hope that came across. Yeah.
And there's something to be said for instruments bleeding over into other people's tracks and all that stuff. It's good live rock and roll.
Exactly. Exactly.
One that kind of stands out because it's different than some of the others is Clotting, which is kind of short. It has a very high, fragile vocal. I don't know who's singing that, and it's slower. And I think there might even be a synth in there somewhere.
Yeah, we've got a bit of something there.
So tell me how that came together.
Well, Sierra mostly wrote that one. So what happened was toward the end of the record, we kind of had a week or two to go where we were like, oh crap, we have 3 songs to write. And we like, what are we going to do? So we allocated 3 songs. So Libby wrote one, I wrote one, Sierra wrote one. We brought it together and then we just put our hands all over it as we do. So it's, obviously it's all collaborative, but sort of one person brought the bones of it, if you will.
Right.
And so vocally we felt for that one, we sort of toyed around with doing more gang vocal like we normally do and all that, but it just felt really nice to have this really vulnerable moment, especially after Earthquake. And Sierra has such a beautiful high range and we just kind of, yeah,
because Earthquake really rocks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is lots of fun as well. So
my favorite one to play live, that one.
Is it? I'll bet it is, yeah. So when was the last time you guys played live?
We played a show in it was outside of LA. We were starting our tour. I think it was where was it? I want to say like Nevada or something. It was somewhere weird. And we played like a weird DIY show, and I kind of, it was at the virus was kind of fairly known, but no one really knew how serious it was. So there was kind of social distancing. And I had a feeling that we weren't going to continue the tour. So I just like kind of went absolutely crazy. And, and we got the news the next morning in the hotel room. So that So that must have been in March, I think.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I can get interesting perspective from you because you've been in LA and now you're here in New Zealand. There's not a lot of people who can compare how the two places are reacting to the situation. So what did you find when you got here compared to what you had been dealing with?
Well, yeah, it was very strange because when I was over there, it was kind of the immediate panic. So we actually went away to this Libby's uncle's cabin for about a week, and we just were writing music and hiding away from whatever was going on. We didn't really know at that point. And then when we got back to LA, it was like all the shelves of the supermarket were gone and there was these insane lines and there was no one anywhere, and it was just this absolute like chaos, and we had no idea what was going on. Just kind of like finding it out through like fucking CNN or whatever, and so it was all really mad. And then from obviously being here, and when I got here, everyone's so compliant and everyone actually like listens.
I know, it's kind of weird.
The government. And sometimes it freaks me out a little bit because I think New Zealanders, and something that I actually like about Americans sometimes is the sense of wanting to kind of push the boundaries a bit.
Yep.
Sometimes I find New Zealanders a little conservative in terms of even creatively sometimes, and or performance wise and things like that. People can be a bit like, but in this case it's perfect, as in this
this is what we want.
Of a pandemic, you
want to get rid of it, get it over with.
Exactly. You need this
deal with it.
yeah. So in this case, I would say it's obviously been a real blessing to be back here. And
oh, good.
Yeah.
and all the other stuff that's going on in the States, did you see any of that? The riots and the people protesting this, that, and the other thing. Was that affecting you guys?
So I left just before all of this came down.
Right.
But obviously, you know, a bunch of my roommates and housemates and bandmates and all that were really affected by everything. And we're, you know, right in the front lines, going along to all the protests. As far as I'm concerned, there's still a lot going on.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I think it's a really unsettled environment at the moment. But I guess that's kind of what happens when serious change.
Yep. So how long have you been in the States?
Nearly 5 years.
Oh, good on you. All right.
Yeah.
So you got a pretty good idea of what it's all about.
Yeah. Definitely. I do. Yeah. And, you know, it's been also quite surreal being back here and, you know, not that we don't have our problems here, but it's just not being addressed in the same level of intensity.
Yep.
So it was weird kind of hearing about all that stuff and everything being really immediate and urgent and then being kind of here and just being, especially when we're in quarantine in the earlier stages, and just kind of being like in this nice garden and just kind of like, you know, this beautiful country, what's going, you know.
Yeah. So what's the plan? Do you have one?
Oh man, God laughs at the plan.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I think he's proved that one over and over again this year.
Absolutely. I think at this point, you know, I'm pretty just relaxed and trying to take each day, and I think everyone's in that vibe.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, my passion and I know my bandmates too, like we love to tour, we love to play. We don't particularly love to you know, post on social media or whatever you can barely do, and so we really want to get back to it, but we also understand that, you know, there's a lot of things that take priority over that, and meanwhile there's plenty of music to be created in the bedroom.
Yes, apparently so.
Yeah.
Well, at least hopefully I mean, for a while we had some live music happening here, and then it all came to a crashing halt again, so hopefully did you do much music before you moved to the States?
Yeah, I was in a band called Maple Syrup.
Okay.
And I also have some solo stuff. And I was also in a band called Jailbait, and like I love bands. I love to be in bands.
Very good.
Yeah, I'm actually, my band at the moment's opening for the Beths come October.
Right.
Yeah, so that'll be cool, but it will be weird playing without Girl Friday because we went on that tour with them last year. So it'll feel very like surreal to be opening for them again, but alone. Yeah,
we all got to make like allotments for the situation at hand, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, at least you got something planned. That's good. And and hopefully we'll have some vinyl in our hands sometime soon. So if it comes across from the States.
Absolutely. Oh, I'm very excited.
Have the rest of the band had their hands on anything solid?
Yeah. Some of them have. There've been actually some issues in LA too, like getting the records there. But I mean, for me, this will be the first thing I've ever had on vinyl.
Yeah.
So that's a moment. That'll be a real
definitely.
moment.
Yeah. It feels good.
Yeah.
My theory is the great thing about punk rock is that everybody should be in a band at least once, make a record, and then do whatever you want to do after that.
I agree with that sentiment wholeheartedly.
Very good. Well, I'm thrilled to pieces that you're here in New Zealand, so that's pretty cool, and hopefully we'll see you with the Beths when they cruise around, because that was like the one show I saw at the power station here during the in between the COVID things, so it was a nice little reminding us all of what we should be doing.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. All righty.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you taking time to talk to me, and say hi to the rest of the band for me.
I will. It's a shame we couldn't all be here, but 2020, eh?
You got it right. Oh.
Yeah.